Let's talk about a change to qualifying procedure for the Cup Series. So the basics of qualifying won't change. We'll still have two groups, Groups A and Groups B, and the 5 top finishers of each group will move on to compete for the top 10 positions on the grid. So that doesn't change. The other thing that won't change is how these drivers qualify, the order in which they qualify, which is based off of a NASCAR metric in the NASCAR rulebook. So none of that changes, but what does change is how these drivers will qualify if they are fighting for positions 11th through 36th or 11th through 40th, depending on the field size we have that weekend. Those qualifying in Group A are qualifying for the outside line. Those qualifying in Group B are qualifying for the inside line. Something else that's changing is there are going to be no groups at super speedways. There are only going to be 2 rounds of qualifying, and the fastest times in round 2 of qualifying will basically be the lineup of the race. Of course, the Daytona 500 has its own special procedure, so this doesn't count for the Daytona 500. So why this change? After talking with industry members and NASCAR kind of going back and forth with the teams, and even too as a fan, if you remember hearing on the broadcast, literally every week we heard that Group B had a pretty significant advantage when qualifying. At that point, there's more grip on the track, and it typically led to faster qualifying times. So this new qualifying format of Group A qualifying on that outside line, Group B on the inside line, determining positions 11 through 36 or 11 through 40, should eliminate that unfair advantage that Group B would typically get over Group A, sometimes vice versa, depending on the weekend. Speaking of change, there might be some electronic changes in NASCAR's near or distant future. Let's talk about something that's happening on Sunday during the Clash race weekend. NASCAR announced that they will have a demonstration of their electronic vehicle with David Reagan at the wheel. Now, if you remember a few months ago, there was a leak of this image of this test EV vehicle, and it kind of looks like a rally car, to be honest with you. That's the very first thought that came into my mind. It has lights, and it has a very generic body with no manufacturer attached. The key thing here I saw from J-Ski's website is that there are no plans right now to run this in a race. There are no plans to make an electronic series that everyone is talking about, is concerned about, is wanting to not happen right now. I hear you, and I agree. Because I know the concern is as soon as EV hits NASCAR, NASCAR is dead. The charm of NASCAR with the fuel mileage races and the engine roar is going to go away. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But also, if we're going to be real with ourselves, we also know that NASCAR, these Gen 7 cars are made for hybrid components. We do know that NASCAR has spent time with this car. Remember, last year, 2 years ago, there was a leak that NASCAR would test an EV car at the Clash. I think that was supposed to happen last year. Of course, it didn't. It's happening this year. And they have tested this car before with David Reagan at Martinsville last year. They ran quite a few hundred laps on it. We're still looking at options. Don't panic yet. If you are going to panic about this idea of electricity, it's just a development that's coming out. So I'm curious to see how this demonstration does, the reaction of fans. It's going to be very interesting to see.